Hello and welcome to my creative space. Thank you so much for being here with me. Welcome to another DIY video. If you're not already, I would love for you to consider subscribing and joining my creative squad. Today's video is actually very special because it's my first collab video and is with none other than Savannah from SavvyCraftsWithSavannah. Whoop whoop. She was my very first YouTube friend and I'm so happy we are finally collaborating together. She is so creative and has created lots of beautiful DIYs, plus she is very funny. Make sure you head over to her channel and subscribe. And now, let's get started. For DIY number 1, I'm taking this adorable bunny and I'm going to remove the sign that says spring. And now I'm going to take a sanding sponge and I'm removing all the glitter off of this little bunny. And now this bunny looks like it's sitting on a hat, but I don't want it to look like that. So I'm removing that little piece that is supposed to be shaping into the hat. And now I'm going to sand it down with a sanding sponge just to make sure that the edges are even. Now I'm going to take some spackling and I'm going to fill in the holes where the hanger was on this bunny. And once I do that, I'm gonna take some white acrylic paint and I'm gonna paint my whole bunny in this color. And it would be up to you, but I also end up painting the back of this bunny in the color white just to make it look cleaner. And now I'm gonna take my Waverly chalk brown paint and I'm going to distress it with a brush. And once I am done painting it with that, or I am happy with how much I put on it, I'm taking my Waverly antique wax and going over it as well. And then after that, I took this other ivory chalk paint color that I had and I did a few strokes just to make it look a little bit distressed, and I am happy of how that turned out. Now I'm gonna take this little scrap of wood that I had on hand and I am going to be drawing my bunny a new nose, or I guess making a new nose, and then I trim it down with my hacksaw. And now I'm taking my brown stain and I'm going to be staining my nose. Now I need the bottom to be straight because this needs to stand, so I am just going to basically trace a straight line and then take my hacksaw and remove the bottom just because it was a little bit curved and it was not gonna stand. Now that I am done with that, I am going to take my sanding sponge and I am gonna sand it down to make it smoother. Now I'm taking this wooden plank. This one is from Hobby Lobby. I had it for a very long time, so that's what I'm going to be using, but you could use the Dollar Tree wooden planks. They sell those now. And basically I just trimmed that in half, and then I'm going to take a brush and I will be staining my wood pieces. And as always, any paint I use will be listed in the description box, and if you ever have questions, just leave it in the comments down below. And now I'm going to take my Waverly black chalk paint and I am going to be using the end of this brush to draw my bunny's eyes. And I love how this bunny is looking and how simple this is. Now I'm going to be gluing my nose in place and I will be using some hot glue for that. Once I have that there, I am going to take this pencil and basically create the mouth of our little bunny. And you can always add some whiskers. I didn't. I love it the way it is, but you're welcome to add that as well. To create my bunny's little pouch, I am recycling this bean sack and it's basically some burlap, so that's what I'm going to be using for that. And I just trimmed a square, and now to help the edges look nicer, I'm just gonna glue them down and make them look like they're sewed together. And once I have that ready to go, I'm gonna take that and I will be gluing that into place. And if you are stubborn like me, just keep in mind that when you use wax, sometimes it might be hard to glue things on top of it. I already know this, but I keep doing it. It's okay. And now it's time to glue down my wooden planks to help my bunny stand, and it's looking so cute and adorable. And now to style it, I'm gonna be using some of these items from the Dollar Tree. I will be using the carrots and those green stems with that little flower. I'm gonna trim some of them down just to make them shorter, and here is how I'm going to style my little bunny. I love how this bunny is looking. Here is where I decided I want my bunny to be a girl, so I am making a little bow with the same burlap material. And here is the end result. This adorable bunny turned out so beautiful. To create this sign, I'm going to be using these bunnies and these eggs that the Dollar Tree sells, and they are really cute, but I don't really like the colors that they have. So I'm going to remove the garland that they come with, and I also removed the little rings that attach the eggs together and the bunnies, and I will continue to remove that. And here is what it looks like. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing to the bunnies. And now I'm gonna start with my eggs, and basically I am going to trim down the bottom to help them stand once I go to glue them. So I am just gonna trim that down, and once I have those ready, I'm gonna take some jute rope, create a couple of knots on one corner, and basically all is going to be is just a lot of wrapping and adding hot glue when I need to add glue, just to make sure that the jute rope doesn't slide down and it's secure and in place. So let's continue to wrap. Okay, so I decided to trim down the little hooks that are supposed to be there to hold the garland together. They were kind of in the way, and it was kind of hard to cover them up, and I don't really need them, so I end up trimming those down, and then I just continue wrapping around the jute rope. And it gets a little bit tricky when you get to the top, but it's basically adding hot glue and keep wrapping the jute rope on there little by little until you fully cover the egg. And then I just took some extra jute rope and just wrap it one back and fill in the spaces that needed. For my bunnies, I decided I wanted to use this bean sack, aka burlap fabric, and basically just cut off some of that fabric, and you could trace your bunny first. I was lazy and I kind of just cut around it, but basically once I have that fabric cut down, I am going to be taking some hot glue and gluing my fabric into my bunny, and this one was way easier and faster. I just like the contrast from the color of the jute rope and the burlap fabric. That's why I wanted to do two different browns. And yeah, all I'm gonna do is just hot glue it in place. And before I forget, I end up trimming down the little plastic hooks that are on the edges of the bunny. To cover the back of my bunnies, I'm gonna take this cork sheet, and basically I'm going to take my bunny and I will be tracing it on there. Once I have it traced, I'm going to take my scissors and cut that off. These sheets are actually adhesive, so you can just remove the back and grab your bunny and basically stick it on top. You could add some hot glue to reinforce and make sure they don't come apart. And now I'm just gonna take my scissors and trim off the edges that I think are showing a little too much, and this is what it looks like once it's completed. And if you've seen my past videos, I've done this a couple of times. I basically take empty stickers, I guess you could call them, and I just cut them off. These are from the Dollar Tree, by the way. And I basically remove the back of these, and it creates the perfect stencil. And yeah, why spend money on stencils when you can use these? I guess maybe it's just me. But anyway, so basically I just stick them on there, and I go in with some black chalk paint. You could paint these different colors, but I was going for a more rustic look, so I just end up going for black. But these in different colors will look really, really pretty. But yeah, so once I am done painting all my letters, I remove the stickers off, and it creates the perfect letter. There you have them. They look really, really good. Okay, so for my bunnies, I wanted a little bit more definition, so I created my own stencil with paper, and I grabbed my pink Waverly chalk paint and I just painted what would be the inside of the bunny's ears, and I think it looks really pretty. Okay, now I had this scrap of wood already on hand that my brother donated to me, so thank you, brother. And so basically I'm just going to be staining this. This is 34 inches long by like 4 or 5 inches wide. Again, this is a scrap of wood that was donated to me. Once I have that, it's time to put all the bunnies and the eggs together, and I'm just trying to figure out exactly where each thing is gonna go. Once I figure that out, I'm gonna take some hot glue and glue this first bunny in place, and they're not gonna stand by themselves, so I am going to be using these Jenga blocks to hold the bunnies and the eggs in place. And for the bunnies, I just used one. It worked just fine. But for the eggs, I'm going to be using two. I'm going to glue the first one down, and then I will take another one and glue it right on top to help the egg stand because it's not strong enough by itself. And yeah, I'm just going to keep gluing all of them together. And now all is left is to go back with some stain and stain my Jenga blocks to help them blend together. And here is the end result. I love how this Easter sign turned out. For DIY number 3, I'm gonna be using this beautiful and adorable bunny I found. It's so cute, but I thought I could make it better, so I'm gonna take these scraps of signs that came from the Dollar Tree originally. If you remember the Take a Kiss sign that I made for Valentine's Day, I'm repurposing that now into letters. You could trace these letters on foam board. I feel like it would work the exact same way, but basically once I have them traced, I'm going to take my hawk saw and cut them. Now that I have them ready to go, I'm gonna take this ivory chalk paint and use this to paint my letters. Once they are dry, I take my Waverly brown chalk paint to distress my letters, and then I also end up taking a little bit of white paint just to go over them and help them look a little bit more distressed. And then I go back with some more brown paint until I like how distressed they look. And now I'm gonna grab my cutesy adorable bunny and remove the hanger, and I flip it over and also remove the little carrots. It's really easy to remove because they are stapled onto it. And now I flip it over and I remove the little bow, and I accidentally rip up a little piece off. I was so sad, but I just glue it back in there and we'll get covered up. Now I'm gonna take my carrots and remove them off as well from the little ribbon that they come with, and then I fill in the holes with some hot glue. You could use spackling, and I created a little bow, and I'm gonna glue it right on top of where the little piece of came off. And then once I had that there, I took some brown paint to fill in, or I guess cover up the hot glue, and then I just distressed it onto my ears just to help it blend in and make it look like it was meant to be there. And now I had this scrap of wood I'm going to be using for this sign, and I'm gonna take some of these Jenga blocks and I'm going to be painting them white. I'm not gonna be painting where I will be adding hot glue, just to make it easier to glue down. And now it's time to put all my pieces together, and I'm going to start by figuring out exactly where I want each letter to go. And once I figure that out, I'm going to start with the letter H, and I'm taking a pencil to mark exactly where I need to glue it, adding some hot glue and placing that down. And now I'm going to take my first Jenga block and I will be adding hot glue and gluing that into place, and then I will glue the next one until I finish gluing my first letter in place. And I will be gluing my letter P and my bunny in place the exact same way. And now all that's left to do is to glue down my little carrots, and this sign will be completed. And here is a look at the front and back of this sign. And here is the end result. I am in love of how this sign turned out. I really do love all 3 DIYs today. Let me know in the comments down below which one was your favorite DIY. Also, don't forget to subscribe to mine and Savannah's channel. And I will see you on my next DIY. Bye!